Hi, everyone. I'm Mark Masterson. I am an application engineer at Kenandy. We're a cloud ERP built on the Salesforce.com platform. I've been a Salesforce developer for 6 years now, and I love Salesforce. I think it's a great platform for development. I was a consultant for a long time before I joined Kenandy. I'm originally from Wisconsin, but I have a cardinal sin, and I can finally admit it. I'm a Chicago Bears fan, and they won last night. Apologies to all the San Diego Chargers fans in the audience. So thank you, everyone, for coming out. Salesforce offers a broad platform for customization on top of what they already have built. Kenandy is using that to build a cloud ERP system. But for Dreamforce, I gave a presentation on using H2O to better the collaborative forecast. Now, I don't know how many people are familiar with Salesforce or the collaborative forecast. Not many, okay. So basically the idea is to give your sales users a nice little UI to look at their opportunities. And as you know, opportunities and leads are the lifeblood of a sales organization. It gives them an opportunity to view this information in a way that makes more sense to them. So they're entering all this data as they go along. They go on a sales call, they create an opportunity. They start entering all these data points about the opportunity. But just looking at a single opportunity, you don't get an aggregate view. What the forecast, collaborative forecast in Salesforce does is allows you to do that. So you can see here I have some sample data in this Salesforce organization. We have the months. So when you set up a collaborative forecast, you can set how many months it goes for, what the roll-up is, whether it's months or quarters. And so for the sample data, I have up till the end of this year. And you can see these different categories here. We have closed only commit forecast, best case forecast, and your open pipeline. Those are stages you set within Salesforce that the opportunities get rolled up under depending on what the salesperson sets the stage to. And you can see the stages here in this row here. So this UI is very nice. It's very good. One of my main problems with it is this probability field. This is tied to the stage, and you actually tie it in the back end. So like this negotiation review, once a salesperson switches a opportunity to that stage, the probability goes to 90%. That's tied in the back end. And that's not really a probability of anything, of the opportunity ever getting closed as a one opportunity, which is what you want to increase your organization's revenue. So my idea was to better this forecast with data from H2O and enrich it. So how I went about doing that, first I created a data set. Now, it is really difficult to find a open and available opportunity. Thank you. Better? Awesome. Okay. It's hard to find a available data source for opportunity data. Obviously, businesses don't want to give this out, and until a Kaggle competition comes around where they do something on CRM opportunity data, it's hard to find something like that. There's a Microsoft small sample data size. So what I did is I made a very artificial data set. So the data in this entire presentation is not the best source of data. And also, I have to qualify that I am a Salesforce developer and not a data scientist, just a hobby data scientist. So my modeling skills are not the best. I'm Mark Masterson, not Mark Landry. So I created this data set, and I'll just give you an idea what that looks like. Scroll down. Okay, so this was my original data set that I created, and I created these in Salesforce. So there are a bunch of sample opportunities. I took a lot of the sample data and just extended it out and created a whole bunch more. So this is just the total theoretical data set, and I'll blow this up a little bit so you can kind of see what features we're working with. Oh yeah. I think I have to go here for Excel. All right. So I have all these different features. A lot of these are standard Salesforce custom, standard Salesforce fields, along with a couple custom ones. The big one that we want to predict is the stage name. And that's our predictor. We want to be able to classify these opportunities to whether they will be closed won versus closed lost. So we want to know whether the salesperson is going to win the opportunity or lose it in the end. So what I did is, out of this data set, I came up with this train data set. And the way I came up with this was I took all the closed won and closed lost opportunities out of the original data set. And that is how I came up with this. So this will become what we use to train in Salesforce, or in H2O. Now, when I was approaching how to start building this integration, I found that the H2O and my H2O closed because I was not connected to the internet. So let me fix that. I found that the flow, H2O flow, was a great tool, not only to learn H2O, but just for modeling in general, just to get the feedback it gives you. If you're really familiar with Python and really familiar with R, and you know how to get that data in there and analyze it, that's awesome, and more power to you. But I like the graphs I get out of the box with flow. Let me make sure I am in here. Okay. So I'll just give you an idea of how I went about designing the integration. I'll zoom in here. So everyone's seen flow, and I won't get bogged down in the details here because there's a lot other sessions you can go to that get a better idea of how to use flow. But this really gives you a sense. Everything in here, everything in flow is built on a REST endpoint. I think if you're designing an integration to H2O, this is a good place to start because it gives you your steps to follow. If you can build it in flow, you can build a REST API integration to it, and you have that idea of where to go with that before you even start writing a single line of code. So the first thing I did is I uploaded my data set. So I have this on my computer. And the thing I realized with Salesforce is I cannot just take my file and put it on my computer. You can download it, but we want to automate it. So that was one thing I realized we needed to change. The parse is fine. We can use the parse endpoint and parse it. And for building the model, I went with GBM just to kind of get an idea of what the important features are. And I think GBM is very good at that. And it's also very good at ranking, which is kind of our end goal, is to rank these opportunities as to how they'll get won or lost. And actually, when I built the original model, I did the split. That's something I learned from Mark Landry, is to do that split so you can get that validation. But you all know how to do that. So then our response column is our stage name. And then when I was, the good thing I think about flow versus just trying to do the endpoint coding right from the beginning is you can kind of get an idea of the features in your data. When you're going through here, and especially with GBM, you get the factors that are just, they're dead giveaways of your data, and you don't want them in your model. So I found a lot of those by doing this. Obviously, these two you don't want in there. One more in down. Okay. And I kind of left the rest of the values alone. I know you can do a lot of things with, like, especially with R, where you can spin up different versions of how many trees you do, and that's really cool. But this gets the job done for what we're doing. So this model number is one of the most important things. I'll come back to that. But one of the things in Salesforce and how I'm doing this is I'm keeping this model number that we have in H2O because that saves us a lot of call-outs. And one of the things with Salesforce is when you run a batch job on a bunch of records, you only get 10 call-outs per batch context. So if we can save call-outs, that's awesome. So we already have generated a model, so we're going to save the call-outs by just keeping track of this one. But I already have one in there. So we get our info back, which is awesome. We can see how our model did. We can see our various variable importances. And this will help keep track of even like what's important with the opportunities that you're tracking. So now the important part is we're going to come back into Salesforce. So the big integration points with Salesforce are, how do we get the opportunity data out to H2O? The solution I chose for this is using an Amazon S3 bucket. It's very easy. H2O can already go out and grab a S3 bucket URL and parse it very easily. Salesforce lets you create CSVs. It has an Amazon toolkit, which I'll show real quick. Blow this up. So here's part of the Amazon toolkit that Salesforce provides. They actually provide all the code. You can download and install it into your Salesforce organization. For those who aren't Salesforce developers, Salesforce uses a proprietary language called Apex. It's very Java-like, if you couldn't tell. But it's kind of like a little bit of a dumbed-down Java. It doesn't have as huge a feature set. And I like to say it's like a dumbed-down Java with implicit Salesforce imports that you get that provide a lot of rich functionality when you're working with Salesforce. So we use this S3 bucket. We parse out our Salesforce opportunities into a CSV, send it to an S3 bucket. Then that allows us to easily pick it up into an H2O file, parse it. And then one of the key parts here is Salesforce provides a feature called custom settings. And what custom settings let you do is create kind of a placeholder value, but it has a lot of cool functionality around it. So I have this smart forecast model ID custom setting. And you can provide a number of custom fields per a custom setting. For our purposes, I just have a model ID because that's all I want to keep track of in H2O. But the really cool part is that it's a hierarchy custom setting. And so I have this default one. So this would apply to anyone, this model ID. So I can give a model ID for the entire organization, but then I can also come in here and I can create new ones, either per user. So I could detect the user who is coming in to see the forecast, or who is the opportunity owner, and give them their own model. Or I think an even better use case for this this theoretical setup is a profile, where you could have your hardware sales users versus your software sales users, because obviously the same kind of prediction model is not going to work for both of those kind of sales. So you can actually come in here, specify two different profiles for those users, and then give them different model IDs. And then you can generate entirely different predictions for them dynamically. All right, so we put our Salesforce data into an S3 bucket. We parse it with H2O based on the model that we specified in here. We get that data back with the Salesforce REST API, and now we need to display it. Now, I chose to display this in two different ways. I'm going to show off what Salesforce has is they have two different ways of customizing your UI now. For the longest time, it was Visualforce, and if you watch the tech news at all, you probably heard of Lightning Experience. That's their new UI. It's very new. Visualforce is very powerful for prototyping, which is what this demo is a glorified prototype. So I used Visualforce to show this quick UI of this H2O opportunity 1% versus H2O opportunity loss percent. This table is sorted by the 1% and by the amount. So when a user comes in here, it shows all the users, all the opportunities that are owned by that user automatically. So these are all the opportunities that I own, and I can see which ones H2O is predicted that I have the best chance of winning. So that's a much better probability percent than the made-up probability that was in there before. And also I get sorted by the amount. So I can see my biggest value dollar opportunities that I have a chance of winning. Just to show you how easy those Visualforce pages are to build. Now, Visualforce is very server-side centric, so you give it all these different Apex tags, and it translates them on the server side. The new Lightning component UI, that's more client-side centric, like Angular. So it uses a lot more JavaScript, a lot more client-side controllers and helpers, and it's a lot better, especially for building mobile apps, but there's something to be said for the simplicity of being able to do this much and generate this table. And then, additionally to that, since we've created this H2 opportunity 1% and the loss percent as custom fields on our opportunity, and we're getting that data from H2O, it can come into my forecast. And I actually get these custom fields as fields I can add to my forecast. And now, when I come in here, now I've just improved my forecast right out of the box. So I still get all the functionality I had before, but now I get this, still have this, I can remove this probability now, and I can sort on this guy. And I can see all my opportunities in November, ranked by their, oh, that was by loss percent. I don't want to rank by loss percent. And then I can come in November and see those ones. The thing with the collaborative forecast is you can't, it will default to being sorted by the amount field. So I think it would be better to take this and enhance it by creating that custom UI and building that out even further. Even further enhancements to this, I think, would be to utilize something like Spark and get the data through Spark, and then you could create something that didn't depend on a batch to run. Salesforce provides a streaming API where you can subscribe to a topic using Comment D, and then you can automatically get updates. So whenever an opportunity was, you can specify kind of your query on when you want to get that update, but then you can get that opportunity sent out. So that was something I was exploring, to get that right into Spark, and then kind of use sparkling water to do the machine learning aspect of it, and then send that back into Salesforce. Without doing a batch, you would get a real-time kind of update of your opportunity data. So that's kind of the tour de force of this integration. Anyone have any questions?
I think we've got one over here. Can you?
Did you by chance try augmenting any of the data that you got from Salesforce with any external data sets by any chance?
No.
No?
No.
So I think you said you did this in Visualforce, right?
Right, correct.
So does Lightning directly let you access the data?
Lightning, so both Visualforce and Lightning. I'll show you that real quick. Let me open this back up. So you can see here, this controller, this smart forecast controller. So it works off of a model view controller aspect. So where I get my data is this smart forecast controller. So I do a query here into the database to get the data in there. Lightning works the exact same way. It uses Apex controllers to get the data as well.
Okay. So, but I mean, you said that's the new way, right? I mean,
right. Lightning is it's the new hotness, if you will.
Okay.
Anything else? Anyone? All right. So if we can thank our speaker.
Awesome. Thank you.